Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Massive Life Changing Value podcast. My name's Ryan J. I hope you're all doing well, feeling fantastic, got your mindset right, have been crushing your goals, practicing your self-love. Speaking about self-love, if you're new to this show or new to this podcast, I did an episode number 3 it was on self-love. So if you want to know what I'm talking about when I do mention self-love and I say, hey, how's your self-love going, and form it as a question, and you want to answer, you can answer me back on the Twitter machine at MLCV18 and let me know how your self-love's going and how it's improving your life, or if you've seen any differences. Okay, on this episode, this is going to be the second part to the series of the Survival Mindset series. So today, number 2 of a 3-parter. I'm super excited to get into this one. This one's going to be quite interesting. It's not a new conversation. It's not groundbreaking in any way, shape, or form. But it is I believe there's gonna be some takeaways for you when you see me draw out the conversation, or listen to me draw out the conversation as to how it affects your mindset. And I'm gonna, of course, give you some takeaways and actionable steps that you can take to prevent this from happening in your life. So I'm gonna give a quick shout out to where this content came from, where this conversation first started, and I'll be back shortly. The shout out I want to give is to Mr. Ray Higdon and his Rank Makers group. He introduced me to the idea of this conversation when I listened to his webinar on the unmessable mindset. I think he actually titled it The Unmessable Mindset Agreement. It was a phenomenal webinar. So I reached out to Mr. Ray Higdon. I was like, man, that was excellent information. Can I turn this into a 3-part podcast series for massive life-changing value? And he said, yeah, sure, go ahead. Totally cool. In so many words. So giving him the shout out because he introduced me to the conversation. Now, the content, my content is different than his content, but the ideas and the premise are very, very similar. He communicates in a different way, shape, and form, with tonality, uses different words, and so do I, like everybody else. So I'm letting you know that this is where the conversation started. So a little bit about Rank Makers. Rank Makers is a coaching and teaching and training platform for network marketers. He's excellent. I've been with Ray for a couple of years now and has provided nothing but value. 100% excellent. Highly recommended. If you're interested in that type of content and sales training, I highly recommend that you get a ticket to his Rank Makers Live event. And that's happening October 8th through 12th, or 8th through 10th. Yes, that's correct. October 8th through 10th. And that's Rank Makers Live. It's going to be a virtual event. because of, well, everything we're going through. Events aren't in person anymore. It is pivoted to more virtual and online events. So that's what this is. Uh, Highly recommend that you get your ticket to that. And you can get that at www.rankmakerslive.com. Go ahead, check it out. Take a look, see. He's got a lot of great free content. Find him on the YouTube. Check out his website and see if you jive with him. If you do, 100% highly recommend the Rank Makers Live ticket in October 8th through 10th. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Ray Higdon and the Rank Makers organization for providing the unmessable mindset agreement, which I have turned into the Survival Mindset series. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, all right, all right. Let's go. Here we go. So, the podcast you're listening to right now is a second part series on the survival mindset. The goal at the end of this is to equip you and strengthen your mental fortitude for surviving the onslaught of media and where you get your information from. That can be, so like when I say media, and let's talk about fake news, okay? Any CNN, CNBC, Fox, you name it, you name wherever you're getting your news from. Nightly news, social media is actually news. And you may find that you get most of your news these days from social media. That's the second word in what it's called, media. Now, to say that the news is biased, I mean, I hope everybody knows that by now. I hope that, yes, there is an agenda played out when you're watching the news. I mean, it's like blatantly evident, and dependent on what side of the fence you're on, the right, the left, the front or the back, just know that they have deep, deep hooks, that are trying to get into your thought process and how you view the world and how you form your opinions and who you're going to vote for and economics and who's got the money and who doesn't have the money and who's good and who's bad and picking sides. They're literally trying to divide you and persuade you one side or the other. Front, back, it doesn't matter. That's their job. Media and news is profit driven. For like truly legit news, you'd have to go to an independently owned newspaper that still has investigative reporters, if those even exist anymore, or if they do, they're about to be taken over by some sort of conglomerate. But that's the only like real true legit news. Everything else is agenda driven. But you're intelligent and you know this conversation. Watching the news now, in all honesty, I probably haven't watched the news or ingested that type of information in a couple of years, and literally in a couple of years. But I would assume it plays out like a Hollywood blockbuster film. like a big production, a big Hollywood movie production. And, it's kind of like watching a film produced by Lucasfilms, they're producing it. Or maybe it's your favorite director. I love Quentin Tarantino films. Maybe it's kind of like watching a Quentin Tarantino film with that type of money behind it, with Hollywood type money behind social media news outlets. I mean, they have that type of pull and money to put into how we ingest the news. So that being said, now the conversation isn't about fake news and the media and that. That's not the conversation. The conversation is going to dig a little bit deeper and go into how we ingest it, how you ingest it, what you're filling your mind with, and how to bulletproof equip you to realize that this is happening. Here's another example. The media industry, all right, you remember that game Telephone that you played in grade school where you, the teacher gives the first kid a message and then it's supposed to be relayed around the classroom, and then the last kid tells the teacher the answer and she writes it on the chalkboard, and lo and behold, it's nothing what it was supposed to be that the first kid heard, because the message gets twisted along the way. Well, large network media is like the telephone game, but with you have a paid player in the middle that switches the dialogue. So that's kind of an analogy there for you. So yeah, this is going to run deep. This is going to run deep into your psyche. And throughout, like a constant bombardment of negative news, and because very rarely do you hear about good that's happening. You don't hear about firemen saving kittens from trees anymore. It's negative, 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 negative. And that negative impact, I mean, it cannot not affect how you feel about the world. And you might feel that, oh man, the world's just going to hell in a handbasket because I saw it on the news. So what you surround yourself and what input you have into your thought process, into your brain, it's going to affect how you feel and how you view the world. So I believe we can all agree that the news is highly persuasive, agenda driven, and more than likely do not have your best interest in mind. Very rarely do you hear about firemen saving kittens from trees anymore. So, all right, we'll leave that on the back burner for a second. Now, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your beliefs and how you have begun to believe what you do currently, whether that be how you view money, how you view your social significance, how you view religion, your point of views and where you got those from. So when it comes to your beliefs, you've experienced, and your belief system is built up on past experiences, the area you grew up in, your association, the demographics of the area that you lived in, the social economics, your religion, the attitudes of your friends, your family, that all plays a huge part in your beliefs and your belief system and what you would believe is true or not true. Now, I'm willing to bet that how you grew up was different than how I grew up. So, understanding that and knowing that, like, because somebody didn't grow up with the same privileges or lack thereof or added privileges, their viewpoint might be different than mine. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine because that makes up who they are, that makes up who you are, makes up who I am and my beliefs. And it comes from your surroundings. So you only know what you don't know. So when it comes to religion, and this is just an example of how you believe what you are, and here's how it came from. Now, this is not a religious podcast, nor this episode isn't. I'm just pointing out and explaining how you end up believing how you believe. So it's at a young age taught mostly probably from family members, all right, your mother, your father, aunts, uncles. Then you might go to preschool, and that's probably like some sort of religion-based preschool. Then you end up going to church. All right. So you grow up with this. You grow up with the religion that you're taught. Now, and not knowing that there are literally, I don't know how many different religions out there. So from an early on age, it would only make sense that you believe what you've been taught and think that's the best way. All right, there's not that argument. I would agree that that's how you were raised. Well, yeah, that's your point of view and that's what you believe. Now, on the other hand, so religion is taught. Now, to be spiritual, that's an inherently ingrained knowing your beliefs and knowing your character. That's gone back thousands and thousands and thousands of years in our primate brain. It's just inherently known, the spirituality aspect. But I would make the argument that with no religious teaching to explain the God concept, I think everybody would probably get on board with their own version of spirituality. And whatever that is, I can't tell you what it is, and it's pretty hard to explain anyhow. But I believe you get what I'm saying, that religion is taught and spirituality is inherently just what you know. All right, so with that understanding that, everybody's different, everybody grows up different, and through different experiences. So, how are you going to protect yourself against this? Well, understanding to take the time and understanding that if somebody is disagreeing with you, it doesn't have to be your job to persuade them to your side of the fence or to make them believe. Try convincing a small child that doesn't like peas. Try explaining and convincing to that small child that peas are the best and you should like them. Oh man, ooh, there are easier battles to take upon yourself. I'm going to take a short little sponsor break for my super sweet sponsors. Then, when we come back, I got a story for you about how the news, the media, the social economics, the situations affected my mood and affected my thought process. Then, I'm also going to add steps that we can take to protect ourselves and have a survival mindset.
So I've been kicking around the idea of creating my own podcast for a while. And I did some research and then I was quickly overwhelmed with, oh, do I need a studio? Do I need microphones? Do I need special equipment? And what type of software do I need? Do I need to edit? And for me, like a non-techie guy, it got overwhelming pretty fast. Then I was turned on to this free application called Anchor. It's your all-in-one podcast creation tool. You can download it for Android, you can download it on iOS, and it's super simple for me, user interface, to get started podcasting right away. It takes all the technical stuff out of the picture. It's been extremely beneficial for me. By using Anchor, then it will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on like Spotify or Apple Podcasts and many more platforms. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one simple place. You can download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Happy podcasting.
Okay, welcome back. Pitter patter, let's get at her. Here's my story of how the news portrays a situation, the social implications, the stress of the situation, how that literally destroyed my attitude and mindset for, well, about a week and a half, honestly. To get into it, we have to go all the way back to March. March is when the lockdown happened. All right. And, we got this COVID thing that we're dealing with, and then there's the quarantine, and then there's isolation. You know the drill, because it's not like it's just happened to me. It's not I'm super special. They're just locking me down. No, the whole world is like this. The funny thing is, well, funny, like humorous chuckle now that I look back on it. When the lockdown happened, I was on my way to Michigan. Like that day. That day. I remember getting on a flight. I live in Minnesota. So flying to Michigan, it was about an hour and a half flight. Give or take a couple, 2, 3 minutes. When I arrived at the airport, everything was fine. Things are going dandy. Jump on the plane, take the hour and a half flight, arrive in Michigan, land, get off the plane, and there's nobody in the airport. Nobody. It was like a wasteland, like one of those scenes in an apocalyptic scene. Like I'm the lone survivor and nobody else is around. Nobody. I'm like, where are people? It was hard to get an Uber that day. Everything's shut down. So I'm asking the Uber guy, what happened? And he's like, yep, shut down. City shut down. I'm like, what do you mean shut down? Restaurants are shut down. You can't go anywhere. You're supposed to stay indoors. That's all I really know. I'm like, huh, well, isn't this interesting? So in a matter of like literally less than 2 hours, I go from everything's normal to flying to Michigan, get off the plane, and now it's a ghost town. Although, you know, the Uber driver was able to take me to the University of Michigan, where they have the dome, the Michigan Dome thing that's in the ground. Took me on a private tour of the thing, and it's me and the Uber driver and nobody else. I think that might have been the first time in the history of the world that one guy was able to look at a stadium that holds, I don't know how many tens of thousands of people. I think 70,000 or something like that, if I remember correct, on his own private tour. All right, anyhow, that is like literally the highlight of the trip. Everything else was not, it could have gone better for sure. All right, so get back on the flight, come back to Minneapolis. Um, yeah, and same thing here. Everything's shut down. Businesses closed. There's curfews, and it's just an adjustment phase for sure. For sure. People are out of work. Crazy. Craziness is happening all around me. So that's kind of unsettling to deal with that. Now, I did mention that I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Well, wasn't far off after that happened that the cops murdered George Floyd. So then we have this George Floyd situation happening in Minnesota. And that was not received well, not at all. That was a super messy situation. There's no doubt about that. So, I mean, already the public and the community are in a pressure cooker situation because of the lockdown, because of COVID, because of isolation, because their world has been turned upside down. Then enter in the George Floyd case and situation. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and explain to you that I know everything about what it's like to be black and to be discriminated against, because I can't. I mean, that is not my upbringing. I'm a white guy. I don't know. I haven't been there. I don't know that there's mm, quite possibly constant racism or judgment or profiling. I don't know that because that has not been my experience. So I can't speak on that point, nor would it be fair for me to, because what am I doing talking about things I don't know about? I do know this, and this is from myself. Okay, yes, it's horrifying to see the video of George Floyd. Horrific, horrific. There's no way that that should have happened. I mean, and that is evident. I don't think you could get anybody to not agree on that point. Now, here's where, so I have a little bit of anxiety and angst and harbored up feelings because of the whole situation of the COVID and the lockdown and the curfews and no businesses and trying to figure stuff out as we go along. But what really upset me is part of the public outcry. Now, I can't disagree about a peaceful protest. Can't disagree. Yes, you have freedom of speech, of course. Protest. But don't hurt people in the process, nor turn it into a dangerous situation of riots. Well, that's not justice. Burning down our neighborhoods is not justice. It's not. It's not going to give uh, George Floyd redemption. It was a manic, like a manic situation gone awry. Definitely could have been handled differently, for sure. But that did actually, I was pissed off for like a week. Not only because a gentleman was murdered, pissed off about the zombie outbreak, pissed off about the injustice and irresponsible behavior of the community that I live in, burning down the place, looting and stealing and rioting and, burning down police precincts. Yeah, that troubled me. That troubled me. And it was hard to get away from. You could not get away from it. It was on IG, Facebook. God forbid you turned on any sort of news network. Um, it was hard to filter out. Definitely hard to filter out. So that's my story. Now we're going to get into what we can do. What we can do to protect ourselves and to safeguard ourselves and develop a survival mindset. So what can we do when we're bombarded with all sorts of negativity coming at us? Well, here's what we can do. For me, I found that I had to center myself, and I had to keep my visions and my goals and my core beliefs front and center, front and center, and realize that I'm being distracted. Like, realize. Now, that doesn't mean I don't care. Of course I care. But at the same point in time, I have to take care of myself before I can take care of my daughter, before I can take care of my family, before I can take care of my neighbor, before I can help my community, before I can bring value to the world. I have to take care of me. So realizing that and knowing and having the self actualization that, man, my mind is slipping and I'm in a bad spot. I need to fix this. Well, what was missing? I wasn't doing my positive affirmations. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't setting myself up for success. I was caving in to the negative influences being bombarded at me. My mind wasn't right. I hadn't practiced self-love, you know, promotion for that self-love episode. I think that's a good one. And I needed to get my mind right. So by going back to my roots, going back to getting my mind right every single morning, that was definite and feeding myself, literally feeding myself, ingesting positive content, whether it be through audio, book, a YouTube, a podcast. There's tons of self-development content out there. You got to look for it. It's not the first thing that's literally shoved at you, but it's out there and it's bountiful. Another thing that you can do to protect yourself and have a survival mindset is realize it's okay to disagree. It's okay to disagree. That doesn't mean you're fighting or you're enemies. That just means you're not seeing the point of view nor agree with the topic at hand. Doesn't mean that it's cause to fight or hate or burn the neighborhood down. You're just simply disagreeing. And when you understand that you're disagreeing and you take the time to understand and using empathy, kindness, love, and realizing that, yes, this person had a different background than me, I have a different perspective. With that type of understanding, I think I would venture to gather that you'd come to find out that you have more in common than you do differences. And what you perceive as the truth is going to be true to you. All right. So what if you decide to pay attention to the media and you just can't get away from it? Well, it's actually kind of hard these days with the advent and the popularity and the go-to social media. All right. So here's a couple of simple steps that you can take that, one, will protect yourself, and two, protect other people from, well, you'll get it right now. Watch what you retweet. Watch what you comment on. Watch what you share or post. And you can control your social media as to what you ingest. Now, if you have a friend that's constantly political, and there's always something political on his feed, and you might get triggered, well, just have a little bit of self-discipline to not comment. When I get a lot of, I can't say I get a lot of hate, but there are haters out there, and yeah, I get some shenanigans on some of my posts for sure, for sure. But I want to think that those comments come from hurt people. Hurt. They're hurt inside, and hurt people inside with their thoughts and feelings. Jumping on social media and blanketing a post with derogatory, hurtful, or negative comments is super easy to like troll somebody. I want to say hurt people try and hurt other people. And by realizing that, then one, I can, just delete the comment, or I can say, hey, thanks a lot for your insight. Make it a great day, and just leave it at that. More often than not, that's what I do. Another thing that I highly recommend you do if you're gonna ingest media is look for the source. Check your facts. That's like that should have been journalism. I think it is journalism 101, but journalists seem to have gotten away from the checking the facts. And who's making it? Who's behind the post that you're reading? To take that into consideration. And follow the money. the money trail. Follow that. Here are 3 words that, man, I really like this, and you can use this in any situation for just about anything. When confronted with, if you feel attacked, or if you're not seeing eye to eye, or arguments, or, I mean, one, you want to kind of avoid it in the first place. But you can always say, according to who? Now, is it just opinion, or is it according to a bona fide, verified website, or bona fide study, or, according to who? That seems to kind of clear things up right away. Well, according to just what I say, and so that you should believe me. Okay, all right, I get it. Cool. Well, I will take that into consideration. Noted. Thank you. And you make it a great day. According to who? I really like that. Here's something super cool that I wanna read to you. It's a short little paragraph. Man, this is fire, and I really believe that this ties a lot of this conversation together in a short little paragraph. And this comes from my buddy Ray Higdon, and this is off of his unmessable mindset agreement. This comes directly from the unmessable mindset agreement from Ray Higdon, recorded with permission. I know the media misleads and manipulates those who disagree with my stance, but I do not need to change their mind nor invest time correcting or shaming them. I also know that beliefs are created from past experiences and exposures, and that those that disagree with me may have very valid reasons to do so. Was that not a cool paragraph or what? Oh man, I love that. I love that. It's so poignant and makes sense. That's excellent. It's excellent. All right, that's about going to wrap it up for this episode. Next week, and oh, hey, if you're here still paying attention, I greatly appreciate you for tuning in and listening thus far. It's always the goal of this podcast to bring you value. I hope it was inspirational, opened up your mind, gave you some ideas, and helped you out, or maybe realize that, man, you know, let's think positive a little bit more. Let's think positive and give people the benefit of the doubt. I hope that's the value that you got out of this. All right, next week is going to wrap up this survival mindset series. Next week we're talking about money. Oh yeah, some people like to talk about money. For some people, money is the root of all evil and hush hush and a forbidden topic. Well, next week we're talking about it and how money fits into your survival mindset. All right. If you got any questions, you'll want to reach out to me, of course, on the Twitter machine at MLCV18. Leave me some comments. Let me know how your self-love is going. I will speak to you guys next week. If this brought you value, share it with somebody. Please subscribe and leave me a review. Till next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, and make it an epic week. Love ya. Bye.